some people are built to be fat. Sorry, there's no other way to put it. It's just in their genes, genetics. Is this something we can do something about? Watch this video and come along with me as we take a ride. It is often said that the environment is the trigger that pulls on the gun of the genetics. Let me reverse it. So our genes are the gun, or our gene is the gun, and the environment or environmental factors are the triggers. So we can control our genes or the expression of them to an extent. There are individuals who have evolved to store body fat more easily than others, and you know this. There's some people that will eat, they don't grow fat. There's some people that eat a little and they grow fat, right? And this is part of what is called the thrifty gene hypothesis. The genotype, the exact arrangement of the DNA base pairs was thought to determine essentially everything about a person, from the person's shape to how the person thinks. But the field of epigenetics has evolved, and we now know that it's not exactly like that, that you do have some control over how your genes express themselves. Because if you eat a poor diet that results in the accumulation of body fat, you will turn on some genetic switches that propagate this process of making your fat cells compete to produce more fat cells. But if you work on your diet, like avoid processed food, avoid sugars, you go more for complex carbohydrate, for food that is not genetically modified, for example, you would see that your body will learn to exhibit the part of your gene that favors muscle development and loss of fat over fat building and loss of muscle, because these epigenetic changes can be modified by our behaviors. And you know, the interesting thing is that once you establish behaviors that favor lean tissue over fat tissue, you will be able to change the landscape in such a way that your body will be trained to favor burning fat rather than storing fat. It's like training an old dog new tricks, but it is possible. What is also possible is that, believe it or not, these genetics expressions can be passed down to our children. And if you make the change, then your offsprings and the offsprings after them will benefit from that change, because the kind of genetic expressions that their children will have and their children will have will be as a result of the changes you've made. And let me rephrase. If you are able to make the changes now, if you are able to turn on the right switches in your genetics, and then you have children, that's what you pass on to those children, and it will be easier for those children to have to not be obese. And it will even be, if those children do the right things again, it will be easier for their children to stay fit and slim. So yes, the genetics are there. It's easier for some people to store fat, but that's because of what the generations before them did. Now you have an opportunity to make right that wrong, and you want to do that by training your own epigenetic system, the expression of it, and make sure that you avoid sugars, avoid processed food. You want to eat complex carbohydrate, cook from scratch, and you'll be on your right way to not only bless yourself, but generations after you. All right, I'll see you in the next video. We'll talk more about weight loss.